The old Germanic goddesses never promised comfort. They never promised safety. They promised something far more demanding. Wisdom. Not the kind that reassures. Not the kind that entertains. Wisdom that forces you to see reality as it is. It demands sacrifice, patience, and courage. Those who ignore it are forgotten by fate. In this video, you will meet 3 ancient Germanic goddesses. I will use their original Germanic names and explain their later Norse equivalents briefly. Through their stories, you will learn the 3 phases of wisdom: foresight and quiet understanding, patience and knowledge of cycles, and moral and communal insight. By the end, you will understand why the early Germanic peoples valued wisdom above comfort, and why these stories still matter today. The world, to the Germanic peoples, was governed by wyrd, not destiny in a gentle sense, not a force controlled by the gods. Wyrd was the flow of cause and consequence. Every action set another in motion. Even the gods and goddesses were bound by it. Wisdom did not mean escaping fate. It meant understanding it and acting with dignity, even when the outcome was unknown. To be wise was not to win. It was to stand firm when the tide of events could not be stopped. Wisdom was not only learned, it was celebrated. The Germanic peoples performed rituals to honor these goddesses, lighting fires in the darkest nights of winter, traveling to sacred groves and rivers, leaving offerings to nerthus to ensure fertile fields, and seeking fierce guidance through dreams or omens. They believed that the goddesses spoke in signs, the movement of animals, the whisper of the wind, or the ripples on a stream. An interpretation of these signs was itself an act of wisdom. Among all the goddesses, one understood wyrd better than the others, and she paid a price in silence and foresight that few mortals could imagine. Friu, later known as Frigg in Norse mythology, was the goddess of foresight and quiet understanding. She did not prove herself with sacrifice like Wodan, for example. She did not enforce law like Tivads. She simply knew. Friu foresaw the threats of fate, including the destiny of her own son Baldur. She traveled across the worlds, securing oaths from all things to protect him. But fate bends, it does not break. One overlooked detail, and Baldur fell. Friu's wisdom was not failure, it was endurance. It was the recognition of limits. But foresight alone is not enough. The Germanic peoples also gave great importance to wisdom that comes from the rhythms of the world itself. Nerthus was the goddess of earth, fertility, and natural cycles. Her wisdom was patient, deep, and cyclical. She did not act through personal sacrifice, nor did she enforce the law. Instead, she observed, understanding the seasons, the growth of crops, and the timing of human life. Nerthus taught that wisdom is knowing when to act and when to wait. To ignore nature's cycles was to court disaster. Her followers understood that life has limits, and true understanding often requires patience, observation, and trust in timing. The forest, the rivers, and the mountains were not just backdrops, they were teachers. Nerthus, as goddess of cycles and fertility, reminded humans that the world has a rhythm. Floods and winters, planting and harvest, life and death, all were lessons in patience and observation. A hunter or farmer learned more from watching a stream than from words alone. To know when to act and when to wait was considered true wisdom. But understanding the world and acting with patience is often not enough. Wisdom also requires moral courage and protection of the community. The Germanic peoples did not keep wisdom locked in temples or scrolls. They lived it in the forest, in the fields, in the villages. They observed the seasons carefully, planting, harvesting, hunting, guided by the rhythm of nature. The teachings of Nerthus and Friu were not abstract, they were practical. A family that ignored the cycles of the land might starve. A warrior who ignored the guidance of the Disir might break an oath and bring disaster to the tribe. Wisdom was woven into every decision, from what to eat to when to fight, and even how to honor the dead. The Disir were ancestral female spirits and protectors. They were not tied to foresight or cycles. They guided, watched, and supported humans, rewarding honor and punishing treachery. Their wisdom was moral and communal. Through their presence, the Germanic peoples understood the consequences of dishonor, betrayal, and negligence. The Disir reminded everyone that wisdom is not only knowledge, it is responsibility, it is protecting what matters, it is keeping the community intact. Together, these goddesses reveal the heart of Germanic wisdom. Friu teaches foresight and understanding of fate. Nerthus teaches patience and the knowledge of natural cycles. And the Disir teach moral and communal responsibility. None escaped fate. None ignored the consequences of their actions. Wisdom was not victory or power. It was clarity. It was courage. It was patience and moral strength. Even now, these stories carry meaning. Friu teaches us to see clearly and plan ahead. Nerthus reminds us that patience and timing matter more than force. The Disir show us that responsibility to others is the foundation of lasting wisdom. Ancient wisdom is not about ancient people. It is about how we live today, how we prepare for challenges, and how we care for our communities. The old Germanic goddesses knew how the story would end, and they chose courage anyway. That, more than power, survival, or glory, was their understanding of wisdom. Ancient wisdom does not promise survival, only understanding, courage, and dignity. Please subscribe for more insights into the world of the old Germanic peoples.